Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 1st, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery here. You can see the cold air diving down off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. Frontal system moving through Oregon as we speak, going through Idaho and Montana today. You see these cold air cumulus might bring a thunderstorm threat along the coastline today, but look back out across here, western Alaska. This is Friday's energy out here. It's going to ride the jet stream through British Columbia and Alberta, bring a strong low pressure system just north of Montana. Cast a pretty good gradient, bring those gusty winds, and that's basically, that system is going to be the gatekeeper for some colder air moving down across the region. Polar lobes trying to move down off the west coast of the Pacific Northwest here and bring some potential for some snowfall to the lower elevations here. We'll take a look at that. But the confidence is really high right now on the higher terrain, the mountainous areas, ski pass areas for getting really good snowfall here later through this weekend in towards next week here. So we'll take a look at that here coming up. First of all, looking at yesterday across the Willamette Valley, these yellow dots are 1+ inch precipitation amounts across the area. So kind of a washout there for some of Oregon on trick-or-treaters last night. This precip will be moving northeast today on in through tomorrow morning. So nice graphic there from Coco Ross. You can see here the hydraulic outlook. Seattle is actually calling for some flooding potential here across some of the rivers here, across the west slopes of the Cascades and the Skykomish here, and also the burn scar areas, of course, are going to be favored for some mud flow and debris slides here as we bring some really heavy precipitation as we go through the day Friday across the region. I showed this a couple days ago. Wildfire burn scar areas are a flood risk. Little burn scar area 101 here is ash and burnt topsoil. Water runs off that pretty quickly. You can get debris flows that are not associated with rivers and some mudslides in unusual areas. So heads up if you are around any burn scar areas with the system coming in Friday. A lot of rain is coming with it. What causes the debris flow? Intense rain, more than 1/2 inch in an hour. So that's what Friday's system is going to bring. Now looking at Spokane's graphics here, the first snowfall down into some of the lower elevations of eastern Washington. It probably will melt during the day though. Just kind of a heads up there. And the good graphics that Spokane puts out here. Hard freeze Thursday morning, potentially down to the teens for some areas on Thursday a.m. So heads up for the farmers out there, eastern Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, eastern BC. Strong southwest winds, possible power outages, tree damages, gusts are probably going to go over 50 miles per hour for many locations. So heads up there as we go through the day Friday into Saturday. Now this is what's basically coming up now. This is the NAM3 It's a high resolution, basically a short range model. You can see this frontal system swing through, start to bring some snow for northeast Oregon, Idaho, Rockies, Montana. There are winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings up for the area out there. As you can see, pretty good snowfall amounts going. A little bit of a weak wave moving through here, keeping the shower activity going for some of the Cascades of Washington, Oregon, mainly southern Washington Cascades. Building up the snow as we go through on into Thursday morning. But you can see the showery activity here along the coastline. Maybe a thunderstorm or two as we go through today and on into tomorrow, mainly Oregon tomorrow. Thunderstorm threat. This is looking at the HRRR 3Cam, another high-resolution model here. You can see this is lightning flash density potential, maybe a stray thunderstorm into the Willamette Valley or the southern Puget Sound here, but again, mainly the coastline here. Now taking a look here, this is the NAM3KM, the short-range model here, showing what precipitation is coming here over the next few days in the form of snow, northeast Oregon there, Idaho Panhandle up towards Montana, eastern BC, picking up some pretty good snowfall amounts as the system swings through. But look at the Sierra Nevada too, though, as we go through this afternoon and evening, picking up some first significant snowfall of the season down there. And you can see a little bit of additional precip coming across the South Washington Cascades as well there, as the Oregon Cascades get some good snowfall. But then the main system, you can kind of see it at the very end of the run there, start sliding down through BC. But we'll take a look at that here coming up. Now quickly looking at wave heights, kind of waning during the day and the week coming up. But then you can see Friday's system, or Thursday, Friday's system coming down, bringing some bigger wave heights as we go on through this weekend. So it might be nice for some wave watching along the Washington, Oregon coast, Vancouver Island, all the way down towards Northern California even. Some pretty good wave heights coming with this system rolling in here. Now this is looking at last night's European run. Here goes the cold air moving through, driving that system across eastern Oregon, Idaho, Montana this morning. And then we bring Friday's system, tight gradient, powerful low, moving across BC, Alberta, north of Montana there, bringing that gusty winds. And then the cold air comes, a polar low. Look at this European dropping this in a pretty favorable spot here for the potential for some lowland snow. But we are 5 days out. It is early in the year. I'm a little skeptical. I'm going to need a little more convincing before I fully sound the alarm. But the potential is there here in early November to get some lowland snow. Now taking a look here, this is the GFS. This is running as we speak right now. I'll even update it there. Now you can see the snowfall coming with the initial system here. And here goes Friday's system. You can see it blast into BC here. Low pressure moves across just north of Montana here. Powerful gradient across western Washington. And then the cold air arrives. You can see this Arctic low kind of forming off the coastline here, and maybe some lowland snow here if you believe the GFS this far out. Once you start getting too far out on the GFS, it gets resolution problems, and the extent of its cold air, it has problems with that as well. So we'll look at that comparison versus the European here in a moment, but you can see the GFS kind of keeping that low in a favorable spot out there where it could bring some lowland snowfall across the area. Now this is the European again here. This is looking at surface pressure. There goes our system. Cooler air drops over the region, maybe a hard freeze east of the Cascades later or mid through later this week. Strong low pressure moves through Alberta here. There's a tight gradient across Pacific Northwest there. And then look at the Arctic high really starts to get going here across the Yukon down towards northern BC, sagging down over southern BC. And this low pressure here would be pretty favorable for some lowland snow maybe as we go here. I'm going to need a little more convincing, like I said, but you can clearly see the Arctic high has been showing up consistently in all the runs here for the last several days now. Lowland snow is a different question though, but the higher elevations are going to definitely get cold out of this system coming up here this weekend into next week. Now looking at the GFS on the left, European on the right, you can see BC, Washington, Oregon. This is at 5,000 feet. You can see the cold air from the first system kind of move through. Now watch Friday's atmospheric river, nice and warm aloft here, plow into the region. Good precipitation totals, gusty winds, and then the cold air arrives. Look at the GFS here on the left, really bring this cold air down quickly. The European showing similar, but keeps it bottled up a little bit further north. Now, if you look at the cyclogenesis here, you can kind of see it off the Washington coast and the GFS a little further north on the European. That's because the cold air stays a little bit further north. So I'm a little bit skeptical of this GFS solution here where it just blasts this Arctic air all the way out that quickly here. But you can see the European also showing this Arctic air coming off the coast of BC and right back into the Pacific Northwest. And you're talking December, January, February. This is a definite pattern for snowfall. It's a little bit early in the season, so we'll see how this works out, but it's starting to look a little interesting here. Mount Baker ski area. Look at this, some below 0 Fahrenheit readings coming up here. Like I said, the mountainous areas are definitely going to get cold here across the Pacific Northwest. Stevens Pass showing snowfall with the potential for more as we go on in through the weekend and next week. I want to show you guys this here really quick too. 100-meter wind speeds. When can you expect strongest winds? You see the southeast winds kick up pretty well. Whidbey Island through the San Juans, up through the Strait of Georgia here. This is late Thursday night when the winds start going here. And then you can see it pick up. The peak for the Puget Sound is probably going to be Friday morning here, as you can see there. And then it starts to pick up late Friday morning through the afternoon for eastern Washington. Some blustery conditions down for Portland, but pretty darn windy across the Cascades, Washington and Oregon as we go through a Friday into Saturday morning. Now this was max wind gusts here. So you can see 45 for Seattle, some 50s possible for Whidbey or San Juans up through the Strait of Georgia, 50s possible for eastern Washington. Of course, the higher terrain of Cascades, you can definitely expect some high gusts, especially on the ridges and peaks out there. Now looking at Stevens Pass, you can clearly see this atmospheric river coming in Friday. It brings the ski pass level above freezing there, and then the cold air crashes down here through the weekend and on in through next week. Similar for Mount Hood, atmospheric river, easy to see there. Whidbey Island looking for some gusts up towards 50 miles per hour. Seattle-Tacoma, probably the first gale is coming here. Mean winds down into the lower 40s. Could be some nuisance power outages across the Seattle metro with that. Spokane, likely 50-plus mile per hour gusts coming through here as we go on in through Friday afternoon. Eastern Oregon, this is Pendleton. You can see into the 40s as well. Bellingham, you scaled down the gusts a little bit there, but the mean is still into the 40s here. Portland, just a blustery day, maybe some 30 mile per hour gusts, 35, mid-30s. You can see here now, European 24-hour precipitation in inches. So this is the last 24 hours. We're going to scroll ahead here, and you can see this frontal system's kind of slide off to the east here. Showery cold air activity behind it. You can see that nature of the showers there. This is Thursday morning. Here comes Thursday through British Columbia here. Look at some of these totals. These are only 24-hour totals here. Look at some of Vancouver Island, 3+ inches maybe. Olympic Mountain start to get bullseyed here. I mean, you're talking 4+ inches in a 24-hour period for some of the Cascades here as well. Seattle getting pretty good amounts as well. Looks like 1.25 inches maybe in a 24-hour period. Not bad. You can see it slide south all the way down into California as well. And then the cold air with the low pressure that sets up in the wake of that system here, continuing to bring precipitation. Will it be in the form of snow for the lowlands? Still lots of questions to be answered there. Now, taking a look here, Seattle-Tacoma, look at last night's or yesterday afternoon's ensemble run. It actually shows 1, 2, 3 little batches of snowfall. But again, you got to be really cautious with this early in the season, and this is still looking quite a ways out here. So interesting signal there. In fact, let's go ahead and run. Okay, this one only goes up to 0Z, so we're just going to ignore that for now. But you saw that. Now Vancouver, same thing here. This is in centimeters here, so looks like 12 centimeters. What is that? Couple inches of snow, a little bit more across Vancouver. Portland International even showing a signal for some snow down there. Again, this is the European deterministic 24-hour snowfall totals here. So it'll be interesting to see what today brings. You can see this trended upwards here as we look into the extended forecast here. But again, this is way out towards November 9th. We can't get too caught up with that yet. Snohomish County, Painfield Airport, you can see this kind of showing some snowfall potential that goes. And this is where an actual human forecaster can be more effective than a model. You know, it's early in the season. Is this really going to pan out? You really have to kind of halt the brakes on the lowland snow level talk just yet. Once it gets within a couple days, it can still change, but at least you have some confidence on what's going to happen. So we got to be careful with the hype machine on this. This is Klamath Falls. Again, 4,000 feet here, so some of this moisture is going to make it down there and probably get some measurable snowfall. A better confidence level for that. Boise showing a little bit as we go through the extended as well. Not a lot of moisture to work with, way off to the east there, though. Now, this is total snow Kuchera. Let's let this run through. This is yesterday afternoon's run here in the European. Look at the Rocky Mountains really piling it up here in the short term. And then Thursday, Friday system rolls through here and really builds up that snowpack as well. Then the cold air behind that. If there's any kind of low pressure system, it's really going to pile up across the mountains. The scale is going to be pegged here on a lot of these areas across the Washington, Oregon Cascades, even down through the Sierra Nevada. Look at some of these totals building up all the way down through Central California, BC, Rocky Mountains, really everywhere getting in on this action. Even the Europeans showing a little bit of lowland snow that we saw and those run-to-run models here down through the Puget Sound, Willamette Valley. Are we going to get some lowland snow? It's not out of the question. It's just you got to kind of pump the brakes a little bit until we get a little bit closer here. Let's see how these models trend here over the next couple days. GFS here, snow depth. Just kind of giving you an idea of what's going on here. There's that first system, then the Thursday, Friday system. You can see that Metro River kind of does a little damage to the lower level snowpack here. And then when the cold air gets behind that, really starts to build it up. So that's a base that the ski areas can really use. And look at some of the snow depth here as we go through the Sierra Nevadas. Much beneficial down there. Now, this is looking for Friday's system here along the Oregon coast, even calling for a Category 4 atmospheric river here. So you can see Category 3 for much of the Washington coast, down through Oregon, Vancouver Island, 2 and 1 atmospheric river levels there. But you can see it did bring a pretty good vapor transport. It's actually 48 hours plus. You can see why it qualifies for that strong, the AR4 category. Now, looking 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. See if this is updated yet. No, this is still put out yesterday, but you can see the bullseye here across some of the Pacific Northwest, 8 to 14 days there. This goes through November 14th. Bullseye here for some of the northern plains all the way out towards the Pacific Northwest, and risk for heavy snow experimental, of course, across the Cascades. It might even extend this down across some of the Sierra Nevada here over the next day or two. So yeah, this is the Friday system out here. Here goes our system today. It's going to be kind of showery in the meantime, but enjoy this relative break because Friday's system is really going to bring some punishing precipitation amounts across the area. Then the cold air arrives. Again, good confidence, higher terrain. Will it snow in the lower elevations? I want to see a couple more days of it showing this before I get extremely excited. You know, I'm the first one to get excited when snowfall shows up in any model run at all. But again, when you're dealing with a lot of different areas and a lot of different people and huge metropolitan areas, you want to kind of be specific on what's coming here, and you don't want to sound the alarm too early here. So anyway, yeah, we'll do this again tomorrow. If you want to check back for updates on this afternoon's run, follow me on Twitter, Seattle Weather Guy. And we'll look at this closely again tomorrow. We're going to go day by day and try to find some consistency and see just what we can find as far as GFS versus European. There's still those slight model differences that are going to make all the differences in the world in how much precipitation in the form of snow you see in the lower elevations. But again, the higher elevations are definitely going to get blasted here. So winter is coming early this season for much of the Pacific Northwest. So hope you guys are going to enjoy that coming up here. Yeah, hope you're having a good day, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.